High up in the silent mountains, water flows with a golden shimmer no one has ever seen before, and the secret it carries could change a life forever. Before we start, join our YouTube family by subscribing to the channel. Don't forget to like this video and tell me in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is. Now, let's get into the story. High up in the quiet mountains, where the air carries the scent of pine and earth, a small village slept peacefully beneath the gentle shadows of towering peaks. Life had always been simple there, measured by the rise of the sun and the flow of the streams that cut through the valleys like silver ribbons. Generations had come and gone, each leaving traces of their stories in the soil, the wooden doors of humble homes, and the faces of the villagers. For many, life was a gentle rhythm, predictable and comforting, but for one villager, a quiet curiosity stirred, a curiosity that would soon lead to a discovery unlike anything the mountain had revealed in living memory. The villager, though ordinary in appearance, possessed a mind that wandered beyond the familiar. They spent countless mornings watching the streams, listening to the whispers of the wind through the trees, and pondering the mysteries that lay beyond the slopes. Though the villagers often warned that some things were better left alone, this person felt an irresistible pull toward the unknown. There was a hunger in the heart, a desire to see beyond the ordinary, to witness something extraordinary. This hunger, while subtle, had shaped every decision, every small act of observation, and every quiet adventure into the forests and hills surrounding the village. It had grown steadily over the years, quietly molding courage and patience within a heart accustomed to simplicity. One morning, a peculiar sight broke the village's calm. Water, flowing down from the upper slopes of the mountain, glowed with an unusual golden hue. It was not the familiar silvery shimmer of the usual streams. This water seemed alive, catching the sunlight in a way that made it look like liquid gold. The villagers paused, staring in wonder and unease. Some whispered fears of illness or misfortune, while others speculated that it must be a blessing sent by forces beyond human understanding. The strange yellow water became the topic of every conversation, lingering like a soft echo of something extraordinary, something almost magical. Our villager, who had always felt the pull of curiosity, knew this was a call that could not be ignored. They spent the morning standing at the edge of the stream, watching the way the golden water moved with a slow, hypnotic rhythm. It was mesmerizing. The light danced across the ripples, and tiny sparks seemed to rise and fall within the flow, as if the water itself carried secrets from the heart of the mountain. Despite the beauty, a quiet worry lingered. What caused the strange color? Could it be harmful? Or perhaps it was something more wondrous than the villagers dared imagine. The villager knew that to understand, they would have to leave the comfort of their familiar paths, venture into the rugged, unknown territory of the higher slopes, and face whatever awaited there. With a careful glance toward the village below, our villager prepared for the climb. The path was steep and rocky, lined with trees that had stood for centuries, their roots entwining with the soil like the fingers of old friends holding on to forgotten stories. Each step upward was a test of endurance, not just physically, but mentally. Doubt and fear threatened to creep in at every turn, whispering that the climb was too dangerous, that curiosity could be costly. But alongside these fears, courage rose, quiet, steady, resilient. It was this courage that had grown over the years, nurtured by small acts of bravery and a persistent desire to see the world as it truly was, unfiltered and unhidden. As the villager ascended, the village receded into the distance, becoming a patchwork of roofs and fields. A familiar world that was slowly being replaced by the untamed wilderness of the mountains. The air grew cooler, carrying the scent of stone, moss, and distant rain. The sun filtered through the high trees in beams of golden light, illuminating patches of the rocky path in a way that seemed almost intentional, as if guiding the villager forward. Shadows danced among the roots and rocks, creating illusions that challenged the eyes, but the villager's focus remained steady. Each careful step reinforced a sense of resilience and determination, qualities that had been quietly cultivated through years of observation, small challenges, and moments of silent reflection. Here, on the threshold of discovery, those qualities would become essential. Along the way, small signs hinted at the mountain's hidden life. Birds with feathers that seemed brighter than normal darted among the branches, pausing to observe the intruder in their realm. The wind whispered through the pines, sometimes gently, sometimes with a force that seemed to push against the villager, testing resolve. Small animals scurried at the edges of vision, as if aware of the unusual journey taking place. And everywhere the golden water appeared in small pools along the path, catching the light, drawing the eye, teasing the imagination. These pools were not threatening, but they carried a quiet power, a silent promise that something extraordinary awaited at the mountain's heart. It was a subtle lesson in patience and attention. The world does not reveal its wonders all at once, but in glimpses, hints, and the careful noticing of details often overlooked. As the day wore on, the climb became more challenging. Rocks jutted out at sharp angles, roots tangled across the path, and occasional slips tested balance and courage. The villager's hands became scraped, clothes dusted with the grit of the mountain, but determination did not waver. With every step, the villager learned something about endurance, about trusting intuition, and about the quiet strength that emerges when one refuses to turn back in the face of uncertainty. The journey itself began to transform the traveler. Patience, once theoretical, became real. Courage, once abstract, was now experienced in the small victories over fear and fatigue. And curiosity, that initial spark that had ignited this journey, was now a steady flame illuminating the path forward. Even as fatigue set in, the golden water appeared again in a pool beside a small clearing. Kneeling to touch it, the villager noticed how it reflected the sky above, almost as if capturing fragments of sunlight and storing them within itself. It was mesmerizing, and yet it felt purposeful, like an invitation to go further, to see the source. The realization struck gently but firmly. The water's unusual color was not a mistake of nature. It was a message, a guide, a treasure map in liquid form. The journey was not merely about reaching a destination. It was about learning to observe, to trust instincts, and to embrace the unknown with a heart willing to see beyond fear. And so, with a final glance at the village far below, a deep breath of cold mountain air filling the lungs, the villager pressed onward, drawn by the golden glimmer and the promise of discovery that lay ahead. The path was steep, uncertain, and filled with hidden challenges, but the lessons learned with every step, resilience, patience, courage, prepared the villager for what the mountain had kept hidden for centuries. It was a journey, not just of geography, but of the heart and mind, shaping a person into someone capable of witnessing the extraordinary. Little did the villager know, the secret of the mountain was more wondrous than anyone could imagine, and the first signs of it were just beginning to appear, tiny sparks in the water, hints of gold caught in sunlight, a mystery that would challenge everything the village thought they knew. And as the sun dipped lower behind the peaks, The villager realized the mountain held secrets that could change a life forever if only one had the courage to see them. As the villager pressed higher, the mountain revealed more of its hidden character. The air became crisper, the wind sharper, and the path narrower, forcing each step to be deliberate. Every misstep reminded the traveler of the mountain's quiet authority, its power to test those who sought its secrets. And yet, within these challenges, the villager discovered something unexpected: patience not as a concept, but as a living companion. The climbs, the careful navigation around loose stones, the brief moments of fear, all were shaping the villager into someone more attentive, more present, more connected to the rhythm of the mountain. Along the way, the golden water continued to appear, each pool brighter and more mesmerizing than the last. Kneeling beside one, the villager cupped the water in both hands and watched as sunlight caught tiny flecks within it. They weren't sure if it was mineral or something more, but the sight filled the heart with awe. There was a sense of something ancient here, something the mountain had kept secret for generations, patiently waiting for someone willing to notice, to care, to understand. The water reflected not only sunlight, but also the villager's own reflection, a reminder that discovery is as much about learning oneself as it is about uncovering the world. Time seemed to stretch differently on the mountain. The climb that had felt endless suddenly gave way to brief moments of quiet revelation. Birds circled high above, their songs carrying faintly on the wind. The mountain's trees creaked and groaned in the shifting breeze, and the villager felt a deep sense of connection to a world far larger than the village below. Here, amid rocks and streams and whispers of the wind, courage became more than a reaction. It became a habit, a way of seeing the world without fear, without hesitation. And in that process, the villager began to notice subtleties: the way sunlight bent on the water, the faint golden shimmer in certain stones, the patterns left in moss and lichen that hinted at something carefully preserved for centuries. As afternoon turned to early evening, the climb became more treacherous. Rocks slick with moisture from a light mist tested balance and resolve, and narrow ledges required careful concentration. Fatigue tugged at every muscle, and doubt whispered, urging retreat. Yet, the villager paused only briefly before pressing onward, remembering the small lessons of endurance and courage learned through years of quiet curiosity. It was as if each step carried a dual purpose: moving closer to the golden water at the mountain's heart, and moving deeper into one's own capacity for perseverance and growth. The mountain demanded respect, but it also offered revelation for those who remained steadfast. At one particularly secluded clearing, the villager stopped to rest. Here, the golden water formed a small pool that glimmered with unusual brilliance. Tiny flecks sparkled on the surface, catching the last rays of the sun. Kneeling beside it, the villager felt a shiver of anticipation. This was no ordinary stream. Something extraordinary waited ahead, though its exact nature remained hidden. In the quiet, standing at the edge of the unknown, the villager realized that the journey itself had transformed them. Patience had become second nature, courage more instinctive, and curiosity refined into a careful, steady determination. Each hardship faced along the climb had carved resilience and understanding into the soul. With the sky now painted in hues of gold and crimson, the villager rose to continue. The mountain stretched ahead, darkening as the sun sank behind the peaks. Yet the golden water continued to shimmer in the fading light, almost as if calling directly to the villager's heart. Each ripple seemed purposeful, each shimmer a gentle nudge forward. The villager knew the journey was far from over, but there was an unspoken promise. The mountain had secrets to reveal, and those secrets were worth every step, every moment of doubt, every ounce of fatigue endured along the way. As darkness began to settle, the villager found a narrow ledge suitable for a brief rest. Sitting quietly, gazing at the pools of golden water nearby, a deep sense of reverence filled the soul. The mountain was more than rocks and trees. It was alive with memory, with history, with the patient accumulation of centuries. The water, glowing faintly even as light waned, carried a whisper of hidden truths, truths that promised to reward perseverance with something no ordinary person had seen before. And for the first time, the villager felt the true weight of the journey, not the physical exhaustion, but the anticipation, the sense that the mountain was ready to reveal its long-held secret to one who had proven worthy. And so, as night began to fall, the villager took a final deep breath of the cool mountain air, feeling a mixture of weariness and exhilaration. The pools of yellow water reflected the stars above, flickering like tiny lanterns. A quiet realization settled in the heart. The mountain was more than a place. It was a teacher, shaping patience, courage, and perception. And at the very core of it, a secret waited, one that could change everything for the village below and for the villager who dared follow the golden trail. And with the stars twinkling above, the villager whispered to the night, "Whatever lies ahead, I am ready to see it, for the mountain has called, and I must follow its golden path." The climb had tested every skill, every instinct, and every ounce of patience, but the true discovery was just beyond the next ridge, hidden, waiting, and almost within reach. The next morning, the mountain greeted the villager with a silence so profound it seemed almost sacred. Mist clung to the slopes, curling around rocks and tree trunks like gentle fingers, and the golden water sparkled faintly in pools along the path, as if inviting the villager forward. Each step was heavier than the last, yet there was a growing confidence in every movement. The journey, which had begun as curiosity, was now a test of endurance, patience, and resolve. The villager knew that to reach the heart of the mountain and uncover the source of the golden water would require every ounce of strength and wisdom gathered along the way. The climb became steeper, the path narrower, and the forest denser. Moss-covered stones threatened slips, and sudden patches of wet earth made each step precarious. The villager's hands were scratched and bruised, the knees worn from kneeling beside pools to examine the strange golden shimmer. But these hardships were no longer discouraging. They were part of the lesson, part of the journey that shaped patience into instinct and courage into habit. With each obstacle overcome, the villager felt a quiet transformation. The mind sharpened, senses heightened, and every observation took on new meaning. The mountain demanded attention, and it rewarded those who observed with care, whose hearts remained open to its subtle messages. At one point, the path curved sharply around a rocky outcrop, revealing a waterfall pouring from a hidden crevice above. The golden water tumbled down in a slow cascade, catching the morning light in a dazzling display. The villager paused, heart pounding, captivated not just by the sight, but by the knowledge that the journey was bringing them closer to something extraordinary. Kneeling beside the stream, cupping the water in hands that had learned patience through the climb, the villager noticed flecks of gold glinting in the sunlight. A thrill of anticipation mingled with awe, but also with caution. The mountain, while offering a hint of its secret, remained unpredictable. To proceed without care could mean missteps, fatigue, or worse. Continuing upward, the forest thinned, revealing jagged cliffs and open ridges that stretched endlessly toward the sky. Here, the wind grew fierce, tugging at the villagers' clothing and testing resolve. Each step required careful judgment, balancing courage with caution. Doubts whispered in the mind. Is it worth the danger? Could the golden water be a trick of light? Perhaps the secret is not meant to be found. Yet another voice rose, steady and insistent, reminding the villager of every small victory earned on the climb, every lesson in patience and determination. The journey was not just physical, it was shaping character, tempering the mind and heart for the revelation waiting at the mountain's core. Night approached, casting shadows that danced across the jagged rocks. The villagers set up a small resting spot, using stones to create a barrier against the wind. Sitting beside the golden water pooling nearby, they reflected on the climb so far. Fear had come and gone in waves, but courage had been refined, patience deepened, and curiosity had matured into understanding. The journey was teaching a profound truth. The mountain's secret could not be rushed or demanded. It was revealed slowly to those willing to endure, to notice, and to respect the rhythm of the world around them. Even the smallest details, the way sunlight bent across a pool, the faint shimmer of gold in the water, the scent of moss and stone, carried lessons about observation, humility, and hope. The following morning, the villager pressed on, now more attuned to the mountain's subtle cues. Birds circled higher, their songs carrying over the rocks. Distant echoes of falling water hinted at hidden streams, and faint trails in the moss suggested centuries of untouched history. Each observation brought a sense of wonder, but also responsibility. The golden water was not just a sight, it was a sign, a guide pointing towards something the village had never known. And the villager, strengthened by the climb and shaped by the hardships faced, was ready to follow it. Courage had become not an act, but a way of being. Patience was no longer a struggle, but a companion, and curiosity had matured into purpose. Suddenly, a storm began to form in the distance. Clouds gathered, dark and heavy, and the wind whipped with greater force, shaking loose stones and tossing branches across the path. The golden water in nearby pools shimmered wildly, reflecting the turbulent sky. The villager paused, sensing the danger, yet feeling a strange exhilaration. The storm was a test, a reminder that discovery rarely comes without challenge. Moving carefully, the villager navigated slippery paths, braced against the wind, and adjusted to the shifting terrain. Each decision required thought, courage, and patience. The storm was not an obstacle to be feared, but a teacher, shaping the villager's instincts, sharpening focus, and deepening understanding of both the mountain and themselves. Hours passed as the storm raged, the villager pressing steadily upward despite fatigue and rain that soaked through clothing. Hands were raw from gripping rocks, feet tired from climbing uneven surfaces, but the determination never wavered. In the midst of the struggle, a remarkable clarity emerged. Hardship was not merely an external force to endure, but a mirror reflecting inner strength. Every slip prevented, every careful step, every moment of attention paid to the mountain's subtle cues was proof of growth, evidence of character shaped by challenge. And in that clarity, the villager sensed that the heart of the mountain and the ultimate secret of the golden water was close, just beyond the next ridge. By evening, the storm passed, leaving the world wet, shining, and quiet. Pools of golden water reflected the setting sun in dazzling brilliance, and the mountain exhaled a calm that was almost sacred. The villager, exhausted but unbroken, knelt beside one of the largest pools, cupping the water and letting it run slowly through fingers. Flecks of gold sparkled faintly within, more numerous than before. A quiet thrill rose in the chest, tempered by the knowledge that the journey was far from over. The mountain demanded respect, patience, and courage, and the villager had proven each. Now, the final challenge awaited, the hidden heart where the golden water originated, a secret that promised not just discovery, but transformation. And as night fell and stars emerged above the peaks, the villager whispered to the mountain, I have learned patience, courage, and strength. I am ready for what lies ahead. As the night deepened, the mountain seemed to whisper in soft, unbroken tones. The villager, though weary, could not rest fully. The pull of the golden water and the hidden source pressed on the mind like a gentle but insistent call. Shadows stretched across the rugged terrain, and the faint glimmer of gold in scattered pools reflected the starlight, as if the mountain itself was guiding the path forward. Each step was deliberate, each movement a balance between caution and determination. Every obstacle faced thus far had shaped the villager into someone who no longer simply observed the world, but moved with it, attuned to its rhythms, sensitive to its lessons, and ready for the challenges that still lay ahead. The next day brought a revelation of unexpected beauty. The storm's passage left the mountain glistening, wet rocks shimmering like tiny mirrors, droplets hanging from pine needles like delicate jewels. The villager felt a quiet awe in every breath, a reminder that struggle often precedes revelation. The climb became steeper, rocks jagged and unstable, roots twisted in unexpected ways. Yet the villager's mind was calm, sharpened by the previous day's hardships. Fear no longer ruled. Patience and courage had become companions, guiding every choice and every movement. The golden water continued to appear in small pools, each one more brilliant, each one carrying the faint promise of the secret that lay ahead. Along a particularly narrow ridge, the villager paused to examine a pool where the golden water gathered in a small basin carved naturally into the rock. Tiny flecks of gold sparkled within the liquid, catching sunlight even as the clouds moved overhead. Kneeling beside it, the villager noticed how the water reflected not only the sky, but also a clarity of thought, a reflection of patience and determination built over the journey. Here, the struggle was no longer merely physical, it had become a journey inward. Every hardship endured, the slippery paths, the storm, the exhaustion, was mirrored in personal growth. Strength had been refined, courage deepened, and an understanding of the mountain's wisdom began to settle in the heart. The villager pressed onward, reaching a plateau where the mountain's face fell away into a breathtaking view of valleys and distant peaks. The golden water flowed in narrow rivulets, forming patterns that seemed almost deliberate, as though the mountain had left a trail for the careful observer. A gentle breeze carried the scent of pine, earth, and distant wildflowers, mingling with the thrill of anticipation. Every step forward reinforced a truth that had become clear. Discovery was not simply about reaching a destination, but about how the journey shaped the traveler. Patience was now instinct, courage second nature, and curiosity had matured into careful, deliberate observation. The path became more treacherous as the villager climbed higher. Loose rocks shifted unexpectedly underfoot, the incline steepened, and the golden water now appeared in cascading streams over sharp stone edges. The challenge tested not only physical strength, but mental resilience. Every slip avoided, every cautious move forward, every moment of attention paid to the mountain's subtle cues became proof of growth. The villager realized that the journey was teaching a crucial lesson. Perseverance and awareness are inseparable, and the truest treasures often require the greatest effort to reach. The golden water, glowing faintly in each pool, was more than just a natural wonder. It was a symbol of the patience and courage required to uncover the mountain's secrets. As afternoon turned to evening, the villager approached a narrow crevice that promised the final stretch to the heart of the mountain. The golden water gushed faintly from the opening, its glow intensified, sparkling with tiny flecks of real gold visible even in the dimming light. The air was cooler, crisper, filled with the scent of stone and water and something almost indescribably ancient. Here, the villager paused to rest, hands cupped around a pool, feeling the water's cool touch and noticing how it seemed alive, vibrant, and purposeful. This was no ordinary stream. The mountain was revealing its truth slowly, teaching endurance, patience, and respect before offering its ultimate reward. Night began to settle as the villager climbed carefully through the crevice. Every movement required concentration, every step measured, but the mind was steady, focused, and aware. The golden water continued to shimmer in pools beside the path, reflecting moonlight and the villager's determined face. Doubt and fear, once constant companions, had now faded, replaced by a quiet confidence rooted in experience and observation. The journey had transformed the villager, not merely into someone capable of reaching the mountain's heart, but into someone capable of understanding it. Every challenge faced, every misstep avoided, every drop of sweat and effort invested had refined patience, courage, and perception. Finally, after hours of careful climbing, the villager reached a high plateau overlooking the source of the golden water. The pools here were larger, the glow more intense, and within each shimmer, tiny gold flakes danced like sunlight trapped in liquid. Kneeling beside the largest pool, the villager felt a profound sense of awe and gratitude. This was more than a natural marvel, it was a treasure hidden for centuries, preserved by the mountain's patience, waiting for one worthy enough to see it. The journey had tested endurance, challenged courage, and honed observation. The villager realized that every struggle, every obstacle, every moment of fear and doubt had been necessary preparation for this revelation. Sitting beside the glowing pools, the villager understood a deeper truth. The mountain's secret was not just gold or unusual water, but the wisdom embedded in the climb itself. Strength is found in patience, courage is proven in adversity, and curiosity matures into understanding when guided by respect and careful observation. The golden water was the reward, yes, but the journey had given more clarity, resilience, and a profound connection to the mountain and its ancient rhythms. And as the night sky stretched above, glittering with countless stars, the villager whispered to the mountain, I have walked your paths, learned your lessons, and endured your tests. Now, I am ready to see the heart of your secret. At last, after days of climbing, braving storms, and navigating the mountain's hidden paths, the villager arrived at a secluded grotto, nestled deep within the mountain's heart. The air was still, charged with a sense of anticipation that seemed almost sacred. Pools of golden water shimmered in the dim light, each reflecting the flicker of unseen stars above and the soft glow of bioluminescent minerals in the stone wall. Tiny flakes of gold floated gently within the water, sparkling like fireflies captured in liquid sunlight. The villager paused, heart pounding, struck by a mixture of awe, relief, and quiet reverence. The mountain's secret was more beautiful and extraordinary than anything imagined from below. Kneeling beside the largest pool, the villager cupped the golden water in hands that were calloused and scraped from the journey. The water was cool, refreshing, and alive in a way that seemed almost conscious, responding to the gentle touch. Gold flakes danced on the surface, catching sunlight that filtered through narrow openings above. For a long moment, the villager simply watched, mesmerized by the delicate shimmer, the interplay of light, water, and metal, and the sense that the mountain had waited centuries for this very encounter. It was a treasure, yes, but more than that, it was proof of patience, endurance, and the quiet courage that had carried the villager across treacherous paths, through storms, and over exhausting climbs. As the villager explored the grotto, small lessons of the journey revealed themselves. Every jagged rock scaled, every slippery path navigated, every drop of rain endured during the storms had been preparation for this moment. Each struggle was mirrored in the clarity of the golden water. Each moment of doubt had been transformed into understanding. The mountain had not merely hidden gold and unusual water, it had crafted an experience, a test that refined patience, courage, and perception. Standing among the shimmering pools, the villager felt a profound sense of connection, not only to the mountain, but to the rhythms of life itself, to the quiet truth that true rewards are earned through endurance and wisdom. The villager gathered a small amount of the golden water, careful not to disturb the delicate balance of the grotto. Each droplet held not just mineral richness, but also a symbolic weight, the tangible result of perseverance and keen observation. Even as the hands held the water, flecks of gold shimmered, tiny and brilliant, like reminders of the unseen forces that had guided the journey. The mountain, in its quiet majesty, had revealed not only a treasure, but a reflection of the villager's own growth. Courage had deepened into strength, patience had matured into wisdom, and curiosity had blossomed into understanding. The journey had been the true teacher, the golden water its testament. As evening settled into night, the grotto became even more magical. Moonlight poured through narrow cracks above, striking the water at precise angles, making the golden flakes glitter like stars scattered across a liquid sky. The villager felt the weight of the moment, the arduous climb, the physical exhaustion, and the mental challenges all culminated here. The golden water was a reward, but it was also a mirror of the journey itself, a reflection of resilience, determination, and the beauty found when one dares to venture beyond fear into the unknown. The villager understood now that every step of the journey had been as precious as the treasure itself, shaping character, revealing inner strength, and inspiring a deep sense of gratitude for the mountain's quiet wisdom. For a long while, the villager simply sat, gazing at the pools of golden water, watching the tiny flakes of gold drift gently, catching light and reflecting it back like fragments of a long-lost story. Each ripple in the water seemed to whisper secrets of patience, endurance, and courage. The mountain had not rushed the villager, it had demanded respect, observation, and persistence. And now, in this quiet, almost reverent moment, the villager felt a sense of fulfillment deeper than any expectation. The secret of the mountain was no longer hidden, but it came with a profound understanding. The real treasure was not only in the water or gold, but in the transformation of the traveler who dared follow the golden path. Even as the villager prepared to descend, a quiet realization took hold. The golden water, the hidden pools, the sparkling flakes of gold, these were blessings, but they were intertwined with the lessons learned on the journey. Strength comes from facing challenges, patience grows through waiting and observing, and courage is proven not by absence of fear, but by perseverance in its presence. The mountain had imparted these truths gently, invisibly, embedding them in the villager's mind and heart. The treasure was tangible, yes, but its true value lay in the growth, understanding, and wisdom earned along the path leading here. And as the villagers stood beside the shimmering pools, a soft whisper seemed to rise from the mountain itself. The greatest treasures are not taken, they are discovered by those patient, brave, and willing to see. With the first light of dawn spilling into the grotto, the villager prepared to leave, carefully carrying a small vial of the golden water as a tangible reminder of the mountain's secret. Each step down the narrow paths felt lighter, as though the journey's lessons had transformed not only the heart, but the body itself. The struggles faced during the climb, slippery rocks, sudden storms, aching muscles, were no longer burdens, but markers of endurance, reminders that every hardship had been necessary preparation for this extraordinary revelation. The golden water glimmered faintly in the vial, catching the early morning sun, and the villager felt a quiet joy in knowing that the mountain's secret had been honored, not plundered. The descent was cautious, but confident. Where fear and hesitation had once whispered at each treacherous step, now patience and wisdom guided movement. Every glance at the shimmering pools along the way reminded the villager of the growth experienced, the deepened courage, the sharpened observation, and the steady calm that had been nurtured through the climb. The mountain, patient and enduring, had offered a treasure that was both material and spiritual. Gold in the water, yes, but also the priceless understanding of one's own capabilities and the profound connection between effort, perseverance, and reward. As the village came into view, the sun fully risen and spilling golden light across familiar rooftops and fields, the villagers paused in amazement at the sight of the traveler returning. They had watched from below, wondering who might dare venture so far up the mountain, or whether the golden water might remain a mystery forever. The villager, tired yet transformed, shared the story slowly, carefully, in a voice that carried both humility and wonder. Tales of steep paths, hidden pools, storms weathered, and finally, the glittering pools of golden water with tiny flakes of gold captured the villager's imagination. But more than the tale of the treasure itself, the villagers were moved by the transformation evident in the traveler. The quiet strength, the patient demeanor, and the calm confidence born of facing and overcoming the mountain's trials. Small vials of the golden water were distributed carefully, each shimmering with flecks of gold, a reminder of the mountain's hidden generosity and the careful observation it required to access it. The villagers realized that the journey itself was as valuable as the discovery. It was not merely about obtaining wealth, but about understanding the discipline, patience, and courage required to reach something rare and precious. The mountain had offered more than physical treasure. It had offered wisdom, endurance, and the subtle beauty of a challenge met and overcome. The golden water was a symbol, a teaching, and a reward all at once. In the following days, the villagers often spoke of the adventure, but the focus was never only on the gold. They marveled at the courage and patience demonstrated, inspired by the example of the villager who had followed curiosity beyond fear, beyond comfort, and into the unknown. Children listened wide-eyed, elders nodded knowingly, and the entire village came to appreciate the quiet truth that had been revealed. Treasures of any kind, whether material or spiritual, are found through diligence, respect, and a willingness to learn from the journey. The golden water remained a gift, but its true value lay in the lessons it carried, just as the villager had discovered firsthand. The villager, now resting in the familiar safety of the village, often gazed at the golden water in the small vial, reflecting on the mountain's teachings. Strength, courage, patience, and wisdom, these were the true treasures that could not be taken or sold. They were earned, developed, and cherished through experience. The mountain had revealed its secret not only to be possessed, but to be understood and respected. The villager smiled quietly, realizing that the most profound discoveries are often those that transform the self, shaping character and deepening connection to the world. And so, life in the village continued, but with a renewed sense of wonder and appreciation. The golden water glimmered in vials, a reminder of patience and perseverance, and the villagers remembered the story not only for the treasure, but for the quiet transformation it inspired. The mountain remained, as it always had, majestic and enduring, holding its secrets with patience, offering them only to those willing to observe, endure, and grow. The villager, now forever changed, carried within a calm understanding the world's hidden treasures, whether in water, stone, or life itself, reveal themselves not through haste, but through courage, patience, and the willingness to follow the path wherever it leads. And so, the golden water continued to flow from the mountain, carrying its glittering secret down to those who would watch with patience, wonder with humility, and discover not only gold, but the strength, wisdom, and courage that make a life truly rich